If they weren't sending a message, they wouldn't have done all of this. They would have just killed her if it was, personal. And it mattered that Irma was a woman, because it goes to show that these guys, they don't care. They don't care if you're a woman. They don't care if you've made an honest living for yourself. If you're 62 years old, pay us or you're dead.
El sicario asesinó al padre del taxista en el hospital que se encontraba cuidando al taxista. El asesino logró huir, pero fue detenido horas después en un operativo de fuerzas federales y estatales.
A 62-year-old grandmother and retired teacher surrounded by a vicious cartel killers and forced to read out what would be her final statement. The Grupo Sombra cartel made an example of her and used her to deliver a chilling message to the general public. Her only crime? She refused to pay her dues to the cartel as a bus driver, but that was not even the major reason why they wanted her dead. It was something much worse, something the cartel could never forgive. Now, the shocking thing is, Irma was not their only victim. Several other bus drivers in the city of Veracruz have faced the same fate. Over the next few days, more taxi drivers started disappearing, and some turned up dead. In one particularly chilling incident, a cartel hitman stormed into a Mexican hospital to execute another driver while he was still recovering from a previous failed attempt to murder him. The message from Grupo Sombra is clear, and Veracruz is about to find out just how far they are willing to go. But the question on everyone's lips is, what is the Mexican government doing while all this unfolds? Have they finally surrendered the country to the cartels? You see, Irma Hernandez Cruz had already lived a full life. At 62 years old, she had retired from teaching and picked up a part-time job driving a taxi around northern Veracruz. It wasn't glamorous, but it helped her stay independent. And in that part of Mexico, being independent takes guts. She knew what was expected of her. Every taxi driver in the area did. You pay a weekly fee, called a piso, to whatever cartel controls your area. In Irma's case, that control was being fought over by two deadly rivals, CJNG and Grupo Sombra. If you paid the wrong group, you could end up dead, but refusing to pay at all, that was a death sentence. And that's exactly what Irma did. According to journalist Katarina Schulk, some individuals who knew her said she stood her ground.
Some individuals who knew her said that she was honest and outspoken and was refusing to pay the extortion by the Veracruz Mafia.
She dared the cartel to do its worst, and they did on July 18, 2025, when she disappeared. Her family searched everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found. Then, out of nowhere, this video started circulating in WhatsApp groups and private cartel forums. In it, Irma was on her knees. Her hands were cuffed, and she was surrounded by a dozen masked men, fully armed and dressed in tactical gear. They didn't need to say a word. They let her do the talking, and with fear in her voice, Irma directly spoke to the camera. She warned fellow taxi drivers to keep paying their dues, or they'll end up like her. As it turned out, that video would be the last anyone saw her alive. Then, about a week later, her body was discovered on a remote ranch near Alamo, Temapachi. According to reports, the scene looked like an abandoned cartel camp. Investigators said there were weapons and tactical gears scattered all over the place. They even left multiple vehicles behind. It was as if they knew the authorities were closing in on their location. Now, some people believe someone from law enforcement must have tipped them off, but that's not even the most shocking part. The most horrific detail came after forensic investigators confirmed that the criminals did horrifying things to Irma's body before she died, and the level of stress, pain, and terror she went through led to a massive heart attack. That's what they said killed her. But when state officials released the report, they avoided using the word murder. Instead, they simply said she died of a heart attack, and people were outraged to hear that. Many weren't just angry about her death, they were furious at how officials tried to explain it away. Journalists, human rights groups, and feminist organizations called it a cover-up. A 62-year-old woman was abducted, forced to make a cartel propaganda video, tortured, and dumped in a cartel camp, and they still refused to label it femicide. And it didn't stop there. Two men were arrested in connection with Irma's abduction. Victor Manuel N., known locally as El Cholo, and Jose Eduardo N. Milenio later reported the arrest of a third suspect.
Pues hace unos momentos la Fiscalía del Estado de Veracruz confirmó a través de este comunicado que también hay una tercera persona detenida, está identificada como Jan Paola, así lo está dando a conocer.
Now, the problem is, Mexican authorities only charged these murderers with kidnapping and not for the actual crimes for the horrific things they did to her and for killing her. Can you believe that? Even though at least a dozen cartel members appeared in that video, only 3 of them have been arrested so far. The rest are still out there, and what they did next was even worse. Just a few days after her body was found, more taxi drivers started turning up dead, and each one was more violent than the last. In the city of Tuxpan, a driver was shot on a Monday afternoon. He was taken to the Emilio Alcázar hospital and was still recovering from the attack when a man walked into the emergency room pretending to be a family member. But in reality, that man was a cartel hitman who came to finish the job. The driver's father, German Cruz, was there with him at the hospital. He was a retired police lieutenant, and when he stepped in to protect his son, the hitman shot and he died right there. The driver barely survived again. This happened just 30 kilometers from where Irma was kidnapped, and it didn't stop there. That same week, another taxi driver was ambushed on the Tuxpan-Cazones highway. Armed men on motorcycles opened fire on his vehicle. The driver was killed on the spot while his passenger was injured. A few weeks earlier, another driver named Jorge Nestor was kidnapped while picking up passengers near a school. He was abducted after the cartel's convoy blocked his car. And guess what? He still hasn't been found. All of this is happening within the same territory where Grupo Sombra and the CJNG are fighting for control. So now, taxi drivers are right in the middle, and they have all gotten the message that no one who resists paying their tax will be spared. And if you're already behind on your payments, you'd better catch up fast. According to journalist Katarina Schultz, the people who spoke were all terrified, and they have all started paying up.
This is coming from people I've spoken to in this region, and one person told me that, and it really stuck with me. It wasn't just Irma's death that scared us. It was what they did to her that led to her death.
While all this is happening, the government is trying to act like things are under control. Just days before Irma was killed, President Claudia Sheinbaum and Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch announced a new national strategy against extortion. Veracruz was one of the main focus areas in the plan, but the rollout of the plan had zero effect. Extortion didn't go down. These criminals are still killing innocent people on a daily basis. And once you see what they've done in the past and how they entered the organized crime scene, you'll understand why some people call them monsters in human skin. You see, before they started executing women on live videos, Grupo Sombra was doing charity and handing out food packs on the streets. Back in December 2017, they showed up in the streets of Tuxpan with soda bottles, flyers, and frozen Christmas gifts. Locals were stopped, handed food, and told to smile for the camera. Some were even forced to post public thank you messages online, praising Grupo Sombra Fuerzas Especiales for their generosity. To the outside world, it looked like charity, but people in Veracruz knew better. This was a show of who was in charge now, and from that moment, Grupo Sombra stopped pretending. In the years that followed, they grew from a small Gulf cartel splinter group into one of the most feared criminal organizations in the region. Grupo Sombra moved into neglected areas where the government had failed to show up, then filled the gap with food, money, and violence. They promised safety and order, but only if you obeyed their rules, and that control grew fast. In 2017, they were active in just 2 municipalities. Now they're linked to criminal operations in 52 towns and cities across Veracruz, and they're not just collecting piso. They're involved in fuel theft, cattle theft, and have even built new armed branches like the new Veracruz Mafia Force. In fact, these guys now operate like a shadow government in the region. They control everything from the street corner to the city hall, and that's not just speculation. According to leaked documents from Guacamaya Leaks, there are serious allegations that Grupo Sombra is protected by powerful people inside the government. And that theory kind of makes sense because despite dozens of arrests, most cases ended the same way: quiet releases, charges, and witnesses too terrified to speak. The governor, Cuitláhuac Garcia, has denied these accusations again and again, but the pattern on the ground is obvious. Grupo Sombra has continued to operate with complete impunity, and when Irma's case exploded into the national conversation, those same patterns showed up again. Please feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth videos like this. Meanwhile, click on any of the cards on your screen right now to watch more of our videos.